Swamiji, we've spoken about religion in various aspects in some of these programs. How would you differentiate between religion and spirituality?
Well, I know that it's interesting. The distributors for my books in Italy said to me at a meeting that we had, "I'm not a religious person." I said, "Neither am I." And of course they all laughed because that's my life. But religion is the form of it, and the rituals and the outer aspect. To me, spirituality means your relationship with God. You're seeing God in all things, and all people too. But it's how you live inwardly. It's not your outer system of beliefs and rituals. And, those things are not very meaningful. They have some meaning, but minor.
Does God have a particular form in the way you're saying that? How would you?
God is without form. God is, it's an interesting thing. Back when I was a youngster, I was trying to find truth. But my first thought was not to seek it in God. Because God, in the church I grew up in, was so absolutely boring. I just didn't want that kind of God. I wanted something interesting. And so I was trying to find truth through science, through politics, through arts, any way that I could think of. But I found that every single avenue, finally, without God, you couldn't find perfection. And I finally came to the point where I thought, well, there has to be a God. But then, if he exists, what must he be? And I remember taking a long walk out into the night and asking myself that question: if there's a God, what must he be? And I thought, well, he can't be a judge or a policeman waiting for us to make a mistake so he can clap us into prison. That doesn't make sense. What was making me ask this question? The fact that I'm conscious. Therefore, he has to be consciousness. And I realized then that the more I am able to be in tune with his consciousness, then the more conscious I am and the more fulfilled I am. The less in tune I am and the less conscious I am, the less fulfilled. Therefore, the goal of life has to be in tune with God. And so I decided that night that I would devote my life to seeking God. And at first I thought I was going crazy because I'd never heard that anybody had ever tried to seek God. And I didn't know the lives of saints. I thought they were nice old men who patted little children on the head or something. I didn't know what a saint was. Somebody who helps little old ladies across the street. I thought first that I must be going crazy. And I tried to get away from that by thinking maybe I'm just too sophisticated. I've been living in the cities. Maybe I need to get close to nature. And I tried going upstate New York. And I remember looking at a dewdrop on a pine leaf and thinking, it's beautiful, but I can't feel it. There's something, I'm like a machine functioning on only one cylinder instead of 8. And I realized I must change myself. Finally, I thought, if I have to go crazy, then I'll go crazy, but I have to find God. And it's at that point that God made sure that my parents were out of the country. And the day I put my mother on the ship to join my father in Cairo, where he'd been posted, I came upon Autobiography of a Yogi. And that book completely changed my life. I didn't know anything about Indian philosophy, but after that book I got on the bus. I took the first bus available and went to Los Angeles, where he was living. And the first words I said to him were words I never dreamed I would say to anybody. I said, I want to be your disciple.
Swamiji, what made you say those words?
I just had reached the point where I knew I had been trying to perfect myself. It was like washing a dirty shirt. You find a bubble over here, you push it under water and the bubble just moves. So I'd go over here and this. So I would work on one quality and another quality that I had been not concentrated on because I was concentrating this, and this would flare up. It was just a hopeless, endless task. And I just realized I had reached the point where I needed help.
And as far as the book, reading it, changing your life, what happened?
I think the thing that moved me, the book is full of miracles, which I frankly had to put on a shelf. I was not ready to accept that. I remember my mother talking about miracles. I said, come off it, Mother, there's no such thing. I didn't believe in those things. But I put them on a shelf. But what really moved me about the book was the absolute perfection of his attitude toward everything. It was so beautiful. I thought, that's what I want to be like.
Swami, earlier you said, as you were walking out in the night in Charleston, South Carolina, you said, if he is consciousness, then I must become more conscious.
Yes.
And I want to understand what that means to you, because I can be more conscious of the pain in my hip or more conscious of other things, but
I have to be more in tune with his consciousness, not to be more conscious of pain, but to be conscious of whatever his consciousness was and is. If that is who he is, then if I'm more in tune with him, I will find more of what I'm looking for. Because I had realized that God is the fulfillment of everything. To become perfect in the arts, to become a perfect human being, to become perfect in wisdom of science and so on. All of these things depend on becoming more exalted in your understanding. In science, for example, my first thought was to become an astronomer. And I thought, well, it doesn't really matter whether 100 billion galaxies or only one galaxy. I need something that'll touch me. And so I decided that science itself doesn't touch the heart. And I needed, to me, truth, I reached the point where I understood that truth has to be that which gives me what I'm looking for. It can't be just an abstraction. It has to be something that makes me more blissful, makes me more loving, makes me more aware.
So it wasn't that you reasoned your way to that point of view. It sounds like it was
I did.
You did.
Yeah.
But it also sounds like it was an intuitive.
It had to be intuitive too. But as far as my understanding of it was reasonable. Yeah, I went by reason and I found God by reason. And that's the worst way to go, but it's the way I found him. And at least I found him quickly, because I came to Master when I was 22.
Amazing. Intuition you mentioned, or I mentioned, what does it mean to you?
Intuition is true knowing. You know, it's very interesting how the animals have intuition. There's a story I read about a couple who left their cat because they were moving from the Midwest to the western coast. They had to leave their animal behind. They didn't know what to do with her. And so about 4 months later, the cat turned up on their doorstep. How? I just heard recently that snakes are afraid of cats because cats can scratch them and they can't cure that cat, and so they die. That cut, so they die. How do snakes know that? There's no snake school that they go to learn these things. How do animals understand what they should do? There's an intuition that they have. They don't have reasoning. Man has reasoning, and it takes man longer to come to intuition. But of course, the intuition of an animal is only limited according to his needs. Whereas when you can develop intuition on a human level, then you reach that level which you can apply in any direction. Intuition is is direct knowing. Reason is, it chops things up into pieces, and the same with the emotions. But intuition is the true knowing, and these are the lower aspects of that knowing.
Swamiji, how can we develop a greater sense
By
of...
meditation, calming the mind, calming the feelings. When you go to a football game and you want one side to win, that's how people are in life. They're rooting for one side, they're rooting for one thing to happen, they want this to be, and so on. We've got to get rid of our likes and dislikes. We've got to become untouched by pain or pleasure, by likes and dislikes. And when we can have a calm heart, this is the most important thing. A calm heart is more intuitive than a calm reason. This is why women are often more intuitive than men, because women go more by feeling. But intuition can also be on the rational level, as it was in my case of figuring out what God was. That was really intuition working, but I thought of it as reason.
Swami, a calm heart must imply satisfaction, though. Otherwise, it would be apathetic to try to be rid of...
Yes, apathy deadens feeling. You have to have feeling, but it has to be calm.
Is there a way to practice your intuition to try to get better at it?
I think you can indeed. First of all, work on yourself to become calm, to avoid likes and dislikes, to avoid excitement and depression, to learn to be even-minded no matter what happens. Then don't be emotional, in other words. Don't take things personally. The feeling that this is me who's suffering, this is me who's undergoing these things, those are the greatest obstacles to developing intuition. The next thing is try deliberately to use your intuition by, first of all, trying to get answers. And you'll find that gradually your intuition will be honed to the point where you come up with the right answers. A businessman learns intuition in a business way, and that too is important. To learn what is the right step to take. I think that in life we discover that certain things make us happy and certain things make us unhappy. And we discover that there are kinds of happiness. Some happiness is good for you, others is bad. So we can go into that next time.